Here's one of those headlines that stops you in your tracks. Bill banning whites-only housing passes Pennsylvania House by one vote. So first, whites-only housing is apparently a thing in 2026. And second, it passed by one vote, which can only mean one thing. A bill banning whites-only housing passed the Pennsylvania House last Tuesday, despite not a single Republican supporting the measure. Not a single Republican wanted to be on the record against whites-only housing in Pennsylvania in 2026. The legislation came after a white nationalist group called Return to the Land figured out a loophole in discrimination laws. Instead of publicly selling homes or land, they formed a private membership association to establish a 160-acre whites-only community in Arkansas. State Representative Ben Waxman, who introduced the bill after those white nationalists expressed interest in expanding to other states, including the Keystone State, said this.
It was even more concerning to learn that this organization had identified Pennsylvania as a possible place for expansion, and that they were looking to build more of these developments across the country, and specifically they thought that they could do it here in this state. And so this bill, the original bill, says absolutely no. There is no room for that here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so I rise just to ask my colleagues to support this bill and support it in its new expanded form, which further protects people all over this Commonwealth.
Okay, so what he said at the end there, that bit about the expanded form, is apparently the fig leaf that Republicans were hiding behind. The Republicans pinned their refusal to vote against whites-only housing on trans people. Republicans say they're worried the bill that doesn't allow segregated housing could lead to non-segregated bathrooms. Joining us now is the Democratic Speaker of the Pennsylvania House, Joanna McClinton. Representative McClinton, nice to see you again. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
Can you help me make sense of this, please? I mean, a lot of people didn't even know there was a thing. This is a thing. It's like, this is a thing? There's somebody trying to make whites-only housing in 2026 in Pennsylvania, and Republicans couldn't muster the ability to vote that down?
I want to say it's not a thing. I want to say I can help you make it make sense. But the truth is we can't make it make sense. It's 2026. I've been tuned in. Republicans are doing the worst things out loud in front of the entire world to watch as they strip away civil rights, try to silence Black voices all throughout the South by doing this last-minute redistricting effort. And yes, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which is considered the North, there was a bill that we passed just last week. And the main focus of the bill was to make sure we never have to see segregation in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania happening. And yes, my colleague, Representative Ben Waxman, found out about this, advanced the bill. My other colleague, Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, added a few lines to the bill to also make sure that no matter who you love or how you show up in the world, you too can't be discriminated against. Now, mind you, that same bill passed last session with Republican votes. So why suddenly they decided they couldn't vote for it last week, I can't make it make sense.
The average American would be forgiven for thinking that under the law, you can't actually have segregated housing. I mean, how does this work? Are we missing a big piece of the story here? Because clearly this group did do this. They bought up private land. We've known about this kind of thing for decades. I just didn't think this is happening again.
Well, I start a lot of speeches by saying my actual mother grew up in segregation, in segregated North Carolina, that the town where my grandmother raised her, my grandmother had areas in the town she could not buy a house, she could not move, literally was crossing of the tracks. Now, I'm happy to say that years later, she could cross the tracks because we changed the law, because we got rid of that with good decisions from the previous Supreme Courts of the United States and fighting together for civil rights and equal protection under the law. But here we are again, finding ourselves back at a terrible place in American history with the whole world watching us as our democracy is literally on life support. And here we go fighting these crazy battles, not only about race, but outwardly saying you're not welcome.
Yeah, this feels like a story I could have been doing as a newscaster in 1964. Like, this is wild that we're doing it. I appreciate that it passed by one vote, but what that message that sends to everybody in America and every voter is that your work is not done. Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate having you here. The Pennsylvania House Speaker, Joanna McClinton.